Today we're doing 4.8, which is the triangle inequality theorem. So let's jump into it. All right, so first let's talk about specifically what I mean by the triangle inequality theorem. So this theorem is used to determine if you can actually use three sides given to form a triangle. So right here, the theorem name obviously is the triangle inequality theorem, and the theorem states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. And what that means, if I take any two sides of a triangle and I add those together, in order for it to form a triangle, it has to be greater than the third side. So for instance, right now, if I took over here, it says, if I took line AB, which is this guy right here, and let me use a different color than that. If I use line AB, which is this guy right here, and I add line BC here, it's going to be greater than AC, which that's true, okay? In this instance right here, if I took line BC, so if I took line BC right here, and I add AC to it right here, it's going to be greater than AB. If I took AB here and added AC to it, it's always going to be greater than BC. So it has to be true in order for it to form a triangle. Okay, and so we're actually going to use this theorem to find the measurements of a possible side length and also to determine if a triangle is actually a triangle by using this theorem. So let's jump into that. All right, so on example number 1, it says use the triangle inequality theorem to find the possible values for x. So right now we have a value for x here that I don't know what it is. So we can possibly find a value for x and make it true here. So basically what that means is I'm going to take both of these right here, and if I add those two together, it's going to end up being greater than that third side, okay? But the way that I can determine what that side is going to be is I can take both of these measurements, I can add them together, I can also subtract them to figure out what is going to be that value. So basically what that means is, right now look, if I take 27.5 and I add 18 to it, that means it's going to be greater than AC. Does that make sense? So that means whatever this value is, when I add that together, that's going to be the highest possible value that it can't reach. So that's going to be the greatest value, okay? So if I add these two together, so 27.5 plus 18, so bring down the 5, we got 5, 1, we got 3, so it should be 45.5. So that means AC cannot be greater than 45.5. So that is the highest value that this can be. Does that make sense? So now I need to find what the least value this side can be, because there's a greater value and there's a smaller value. So right now, if I actually took the smaller side and I add AC to it, it's going to be greater than 27.5. But then what I can do is I can actually solve for that and subtract it on both sides, and it's going to end up giving me the least value. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take 27.5 and I'm going to subtract it from 18, or subtract 18 from 27.5. So bring down the 5, take away from the 2, 17, so it'd be 9.5. So the least value that side could be was 9.5. And the way we do this is we actually express it in an inequality, okay? So what that means is, I'm going to use a different color here, is when I write my equality, I'm going to basically put a value is going to be less than x, which is going to be my value for this side, and x is going to be less than the greatest value. And so when I write this inequality, I'm going to put the least value right here, which is 9.5. Then I'm going to put the greatest value right here, which is 45.5. So that means the least or the smallest value that this can be or it can't be is 9.5. So anywhere in between 9.5 and 4.5 is what that side measurement could be. So on example number 2, it says, write an inequality to find the possible values for x, which is my third side here. So over here on example number 1, all I did was take the two values, added them together to get the greatest, then subtracted them to get the lowest. Okay, so I'm going to go and just write my inequality. So the lowest value is going to be less than x, and then x is going to be less than whatever the greatest value is. So in between those values is going to be the least and the most value that it's in between on those two sides. So basically, to find the least value, I'm going to subtract the two. So 21.4 minus 6.3. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Take away from the 2. This would be 5. And then 15.1. So the least value is going to be 15.1. And then I'm actually going to add them together to get the greatest value. So 4 plus 3 is 7, 6 plus 1 is 7, and you get 2. So 27.7 is the greatest value. So ladies and gentlemen, this would be the inequality, which what that means is that third side is going to be in between 15.1 and 27.7. Okay? All right, now let's look at example number 3. So it says on example number 3, Kara's dog ran away and she went looking for her. How far is Kara from her dog? So necessarily we've been given a triangle here, and then we've been given two side links. And so I can find the possible or about how far that dog is going to be from Kara by using this inequality theorem, okay? And so now I'm going to use that as an inequality. So the least value she's away is going to be less than, greater than the greatest value she's going to be away. So all I got to do is add them together to get the greatest and subtract them to get the lowest, okay? So I'm going to do 214 minus 170. So bring down the 4, take from the 2, I should get 4 and 0. So that the least it could be far away is 44 meters, okay? And now the max, I'm going to add 214 plus 170, bring down the 4, gives me 8, so 384 meters. So there's going to be a max and a minimum value that the distance she is from her dog is going to be that right there. Okay. All right, and then lastly on example number 4, it's asking me, can the side lengths given make a triangle? So basically right here, I'm given 3 measurements that are going to be of a triangle, and I'm going to see if it's possible that those are going to end up being a triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my inequality theorem I learned up there. Is basically I'm going to take 2 values, add them together, and it always has to be greater than the third side. So let's go ahead and try this. So 7 plus 5 has to be greater than 4. So 7 plus 5 is going to end up giving you 12. 12 is indeed greater than 4, so that works. Okay, so let's try 2 more. So 7 plus 4 has to be greater than 5. So 7 plus 4 is going to end up giving me 11, and 11 indeed is greater than 5. Okay, now let's try the last one. So 5 plus 4 has to be greater than 7. 5 plus 4 is 9, so that is greater than 7. So since all 3 of these work out, that means this is a triangle. So yes, it is a triangle. And if you end up working these 3 out and they do not, or it isn't true, meaning one of these values is less than the third side or even to the third side, then it's not going to make a triangle. Okay.